The Chicago Bears get a massive, glaring hole on the edge that's threatening to completely wreck our 11-6 winning window if we don't bring in some immediate muscle. We're dissecting the foundation right now, from the heavy noise pushing Von Miller to Halas Hall to those under-the-radar trades for Walker Little and Baron Browning that are making rounds. But the real operational blueprint behind this big signing rests on an elite, four-time Pro Bowl game-changer whose trade value is going to skyrocket the second he hits the grass. Lock in and hit the like button if you want the unvarnished asset numbers. Let's examine this pass rush liability first. This front office spent the whole damn offseason playing it safe, but we've still got a massive glaring hole on this roster that just won't go away. It's the kind of leak that sinks a ship if you leave it open. Ryan Poles kept things dead quiet after we walked away from that 11-6 run in 2025, sitting on his hands while every other team in the league made big noise. The draft's over and done with, and Poles completely passed on every single edge rusher on the board. The big money free agent waves are long gone, so the scrap heap's getting thin, but there's still one massive name floating out there. We're talking about Von Miller, the seven-time All-Pro who just wrapped up last season with the Washington Commanders. Matt Bowen over at ESPN pointed directly at Chicago as the perfect spot for Miller, looking right at our empty edge position depth. Bowen says Miller isn't a guy who can play 60 snaps a game anymore, but if you use him as a pure situational pass rush specialist on third downs, he's still a lethal weapon. Just look at what he did in Washington last year. The guy racked up 9 sacks and 36 total pressures while only being on the field for 37% of the defensive snaps. Think about that. 9 sacks would have put him second on our entire team, right behind Sweat. His volume to clear passing downs optimizes his remaining utility. 9 sacks on a fractional workload is highly efficient output. Yeah, he turned 37 back in March, but those numbers tell you his age doesn't mean a damn thing. He's sitting on 138.5 career sacks. That's the highest number of any active player in the entire league. Plus, he's got 2 Super Bowl rings sitting in his jewelry box. Bringing that kind of championship pedigree into a locker room that just went 11-6 in 2025 and wants to make a real run matters way more than just what he brings to the table on third and long. Look at the money side. The salary guys over at Spotrac think Von Miller's next contract's going to sit right around the 1-year, $5.8 million deal. Since he actually beat his 2024 numbers last year, he might want a little extra change in his pocket. But even if he pushes for more, that's chump change compared to how bad we need a pass rusher. We might have to clear a little room with a restructure or two. But being in cap hell shouldn't stop us from getting this deal done. A $5.8 million valuation for 9 sacks is an elite cost-to-production ratio. If Poles lets minor cap gymnastics stall this deal, he's misreading the market. But Von Miller isn't the only move floating around Halas Hall right now. This front office has still got some other big holes to fill up front, and there are a couple of massive trade rumors flying around the league that could completely flip this whole board upside down. Being careful with your assets isn't always a bad thing, but several roster holes remain visible enough that simply waiting for in-house improvement feels insufficient. These 3 trade ideas are exactly the kind of aggressive, real-world moves Ryan Poles needs to make to fix these weak links before they cost us games. Let's talk about trade number 1, grabbing some offensive tackle depth by bringing in Walker Little from Jacksonville. In this deal, the Bears get tackle Walker Little, and the Jaguars get a 2027 4th-round pick along with a 2028 6th-rounder. Losing Ozzie Tropillo completely blew the doors off our depth situation up front, and the guys we're left with are a massive headache. We're staring at Jedrick Wills Jr. and Braxton Jones, and both of them have got serious red flags. Wills couldn't even keep a starting gig when he was in Cleveland, and Jones has let us down over and over since he put on a Bears uniform. Neither one of these guys makes you feel good about protecting the franchise. Walker Little gives you a real, legitimate upgrade without costing an arm and a leg. The Jaguars tackle's sitting in the final year of his contract, and he isn't even projected to start down in Jacksonville, so he's ripe for the picking if you dangle a few late-round draft picks. Giving up a couple of day 3 selections is a dirt cheap price for a guy in his exact situation. Ryan Poles needs to get on the phone right now and at least see what it takes to get this done. Trade number 2 centers on the edge rush. We go get Baron Browning out of Arizona. The package looks like this. The Bears get edge rusher Baron Browning, and the Cardinals walk away with the 2027 fifth-round pick. Head coach Ben Johnson came out this spring and admitted our pass rush is completely lacking, but he tried to say that better coaching's gonna make these guys better in 2026. He might mean well, but talk don't get sacks. Baron Browning's been a real solid, underrated producer in this league for a minute now, doing work in Denver before heading over to Arizona. The man put up a 16.4% pass rush win rate in 2025, and that number's actually higher than every single edge rusher we've got on the Bears roster right now. If Arizona is looking to dump players to stockpile future draft capital, this deal's a slam dunk for both sides. We get a proven defender who fits the budget, and the Cardinals get the draft assets they want. Trade number 3 fixes the middle of the defensive line by dealing for Michael Hall Jr. from Cleveland. The swap gets the Bears defensive tackle Michael Hall Jr. plus a 2027 fifth-round pick, while the Browns get backup quarterback Tyson Bagent. Swapping player for player doesn't happen every day in this league, but the right setup can force a team's hand. Tyson Bagent's name's been floating around in trade rumors all spring long, but Chicago's held on to him for bargaining power. Now that the regular season's creeping up on us, teams with a complete mess at quarterback are gonna get desperate enough to make a move. The Bears can use Bagent as pure trade bait to bring in Michael Hall Jr., a defensive tackle who can wreck things on the inside immediately and learn the ropes to eventually take over for Grady Jarrett down the road. The Browns throw in that 2027 fifth-round pick as a sweetener to make the numbers work out for Chicago. The Browns get a young quarterback they can try to groom, and we get a young, nasty interior lineman who can contribute from day one. But if you take a step back from the trade market and look hard at this entire free agent pass rush board, it brings up a question that almost nobody's asking right now. Most analysts who have waited on Chicago's edge rush situation have landed on Von Miller as the logical solution. But there's another name floating around who fits what we actually need way better, and nobody's talking about him. We're talking about Cameron Jordan. Von Miller provides vertical speed, but Jordan offers the heavy down leverage this specific defense requires. Jordan's a 15-year vet with a first-class ticket to Canton waiting for him, and right now, he's just sitting out there without a contract. When you break down the actual numbers and look at the tape, he's a million times better match for what this defense needs in 2026 than Von could ever be. Matt Miller over at ESPN wrote that whole piece putting Von in the Bears uniform, and he thinks Cameron Jordan's just gonna run back home to New Orleans anyway. And Mina Kims thinks the exact same thing. But before everyone just assumes he's going back to the Saints, we need to take a hard look at exactly what this front office is about to miss out on if they don't make a push. Check out what the film guys over at Pro Football Focus put out. Jordan and Von are practically mirrors of each other when it came to hunting quarterbacks last year. Both of them racked up exactly 36 total pressures on the season. Jordan picked up 22 quarterback hurries while Von had 21. When it came to finishing the play, Jordan wrapped up 10.5 sacks on 336 pass rush snaps, and Von came down with 9 sacks on 289 snaps. Jordan put his face in the fan for 235 run defense snaps last season, blowing up plays for 15 tackles for loss and locking in a PFF grade of 82.1, which put him at 4th best in the entire NFL among edge guys. That massive gap in the run game's everything when you look at the total mess we're dealing with in Chicago. Then you've got the biggest piece of this puzzle that doesn't even show up in the box score. Our defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, spent 10 long years down with the New Orleans Saints as their coordinator and their head coach, and Jordan was the absolute anchor of his defense the entire time. Jordan grabbed 7 of his 8 Pro Bowls and every single one of his All-Pro nods while he was playing under Allen down in the Bayou. Bringing in a guy who already speaks Allen's language, knows the playbook inside and out, and understands exactly what's expected of him means he doesn't need weeks to get up to speed. Check out the money side. The guys at Spotrac got Jordan's market value pegged right around $6.8 million for a one-year deal. The man's already made over $146 million over his career, so he's not hurting for cash. Sure, he's not out here begging for a cheap ring, but getting a chance to actually win something real at the end of his run is gonna pull some major weight. We went 11-6 last year, grabbed the NFC North crown, and won a playoff game to get things rolling. Meanwhile, the Saints completely bottomed out at 6-11 and finished dead last in the pathetic NFC South. For a guy who's writing the final chapter of a legendary career and has won basically everything except the Super Bowl ring, that massive difference in where these two teams are heading is gonna matter a whole lot. Nobody's saying Jordan's the long-term future for Chicago. Once Odiang, Bowen, and Turner get their knees right and hit the field healthy, Jordan can naturally slide back into that specialized third-down pass rush role that Von be forced to play from week 1. But to open the season, and potentially through a meaningful portion of it, Jordan brings a broader skill set, deeper system familiarity, and better run defense credentials than any other available option on the market. Ryan Poles must run the true data on this bridge plan. If we want to dominate the North again, Cameron Jordan's a great short-term fix. But there's an even bigger headline hitting the league right now. If this front office wants to completely stop messing around with Band-Aid and go for a true knockout blow, a massive message just dropped regarding the ultimate trade target. The Chicago Bears may have won the NFC North in Ben Johnson's first season, but many around the league still believe the team has one glaring weakness: a dominant edge rusher opposite Montez Sweat. Now, one NFL analyst believes the Bears could eventually make a blockbuster move for Maxx Crosby if the Las Vegas Raiders continue leaning into a rebuild. In a recent FanSided article highlighting one trade target for every NFL team after the draft, Jake Beckman linked Crosby to Chicago and argued the Bears have still not done enough to fix their pass rush problem despite an aggressive offseason. Crosby represents a blue-chip asset stuck in a distressed organization. If Las Vegas decides to liquidate their highest value contracts to stock draft picks, Poles must act as the primary buyer. Beckman didn't hold back either, writing that we went into free agency needing a real dominant defensive end and came up totally empty. Then we went into the draft needing that exact same dominant player, and we passed again, but Maxx Crosby's still sitting out there. That's the exact reason why Crosby's name keeps popping up in all these crazy trade rumors. This 4-time Pro Bowler was practically a done deal to the Baltimore Ravens earlier this spring, but the whole thing blew up at the last second because they didn't like what they saw on his physical after his knee surgery. Beckman questioned whether that was the full story, but noted Crosby's value could quickly explode again if he looks healthy early in the 2026 season. The way Beckman puts it, all this drama just means Crosby's price tag's absolutely going to skyrocket the second he steps onto the field in week 1 and gets right back to playing like a total psycho killer. Pairing Crosby with Montez Sweat could potentially give defensive coordinator Dennis Allen one of the league's most dangerous pass rushing duos. The Raiders are looking at a brutal choice with their star player. Even after that Baltimore deal went up in flames, nobody really knows what's going to happen with Crosby out in Vegas. Vegas is just stepping into year 1 of a major rebuild, and if they start dropping games early, contenders are expected to aggressively call about the star edge rusher before the trade deadline. His old teammate, tight end Darren Waller, opened up recently about how tough this whole mess is for Crosby after he came that close to packing his bags and leaving the team. Waller dropped some truth on Yahoo Sports Daily, saying that having the whole thing completely stopped and being forced to head right back to a team you were already frustrated with, a team that literally had you on the block, just feels like a ton of mental weight to deal with. Sure, giving up the farm for a trade like this is going to cost a boatload of high draft picks, but Beckman believes waiting may only make Crosby more expensive if he proves he is fully healthy again. Right now, the Bears appear content with their current roster heading into training camp, but if Chicago's pass rush becomes an issue early in the season, speculation connecting the Bears to one of the NFL's premier defensive stars likely will only continue to grow. For the Chicago Bears and general manager Ryan Poles, landing Maxx Crosby could completely transform Chicago's defense and solidify the team as a serious Super Bowl favorite. This single transaction transformed Chicago from a regional division threat into a legitimate championship favorite. It secures the entire defensive structure for a title run. What's your take on pulling the trigger for Crosby? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you appreciate this kind of raw asset breakdown from a guy who watches this board daily, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to lock into the community. It keeps us independent. Big hug, and I'll catch you on the next one.